I told myself that trading was not for me, and I kind of gave up. You don't have to just believe everything that you see, so you have to prove it by yourself. Obviously, trading is actually my passion. My trading model basically revolves around...
When you're in drawdown, how do you sort of maintain yourself and keep yourself in check?
So basically, one of the things I do the most...
Welcome back to Process Over Profits today, everyone. Today, I'm joined by Juno. He's just consistently shown what it looks like to stay focused, professional, and is process-driven in this game. We're going to dig into how he builds that discipline into his daily structure and what helped him become the trader he is today. Juno, obviously, I really appreciate you being here, man. Let's get into it. What first got you into trading?
First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm pretty excited. I think basically I got sold a dream about how trading was, like from the perspective from someone that obviously never did trading before. You actually get sold the dream that you are going to get a ton of money quick and that it's going to be easy. So I got into trading first with crypto. I know some people might relate to my story or my journey because some of us, we are in this position because of crypto. And I started back 2017 when I discovered basically Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the approach when it comes to trading was more about buying and holding an asset and then obviously selling it. And when I started, obviously I would say by pure luck, I made a little bit of money with it. And then I started getting more interested into day trading, where it is like buying an asset and selling it in the same day or like a short period of time. And then obviously, as some of us also did, because I know some people that I talked about my journey with, they lost money, and I actually lost money throughout like the experience, like the learning experience of trading, like day trading. A bit of luck from myself because I actually made money before with what like it was the bull run from 2017 to 2018 and then crashed. I cashed out some of the money and I used that to kind of make my way into day trading. Then I actually lost everything by 2019. Yeah. But again, it was like a learning experience. And then I wanted to just shift away from crypto and discovered Forex. And I kind of started like digging into Forex, learning a bit about like the differences between the crypto markets and the Forex markets. I found that I didn't like it at all. Like it was way different than crypto and I just stopped. So basically...
How come? What was the issue with Forex?
I think I didn't like, I came from crypto where you can trade basically 24/7, say 7 days a week. So basically you can trade, you can be in a trade any time of day, any day of the week, right? And I was so used to that, to being able to trade on weekends. Obviously I was working a 9-to-5 job. So basically I didn't have much time to be on charge and actually take my trading calmly and analyze everything the way I should. Yeah. So Forex didn't catch me in at first because obviously you had to be really conscious about, okay, you have to trade inside a session if you actually want to take high probability or high quality trades. And that didn't go well with me the way I was trading before. So that's why Forex didn't, not because of like the assets per se, like trading currencies. It was more like the way of trading.
Yeah.
That's when I just took a break from 2020 until 2022. I might say that I actually had a quite big loss at that time with Forex. And I told myself I was not going to come back again into trading. I had that realization moment where I told myself that trading was not for me and I kind of gave up. But then 2022, obviously trading is actually my passion. So I didn't know how, but it came up to my mind again. Yeah. And then I discovered ICT and concepts. And then I gave it a go again. But this time I discovered futures instead of Forex. And the rest is basically history. From 2022 to now, it's basically like a nonstop and grind journey where I would just lock myself out, isolate completely myself, just learn and basically reach the point where I'm today, where I'm actually still learning, obviously, but I'm already profitable. I don't work my 9-to-5 job anymore. and I can just focus on this, on my passion, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was about to say, and now here we are, right?
Exactly.
What's that like now? Obviously, you've managed to get to a point where you've found that consistency and you obviously don't have to work that job, like how does that feel now that you finally got there?
Yeah. So it actually feels completely surreal to me. I've been like doing this full time for, I would say, 4 or 5 months now. So I'm actually still in the moment of realization of just
Yeah.
actually waking up every day and saying, wow, I don't need to be on a daily meeting every day in front
Yeah.
of my
Best feeling
boss.
ever.
Exactly. But in another way, it also feels like a relief sensation because I actually have a health condition. It was diagnosed while I was learning to trade, basically. And I think because of that health condition, I pushed harder than ever the trading thing because I wanted to be quote unquote free. I know it's a topic like to have be free and be like have more freedom and be your own boss, etc. But it's actually true because having a health condition and having a 9 to 5 and being like tied to that job and knowing that maybe my life is not going to be as longer as any other person, that
Yeah.
made me feel like so bad. And now that I have more time, I can spend more time with my family. It's not just about the money, but obviously I can spend more time with my family, with my friends, with my girlfriend. I just can travel. So it's like I'm taking the most of out of my time now that
Yeah.
I'm trading full
You get,
time, and I have
yeah.
that relief that I don't rely on a 9 to 5 job, and I have obviously more time to just enjoy and live life. Actually,
I think you put a really important highlight on what trading's really about. It's not necessarily about the money, but it's about like the freedom that it can give
exactly.
you. So yeah, that's amazing to hear. Wow. When you were obviously coming up in your journey, I know obviously you said you had that period where you quit and you went into 22 and then you kind of got back into it.
Mhm.
Was there sort of like a turning point in that 2022 era where you obviously started learning ICT, where you were like, okay, yeah, this is actually starting to click a little bit. Like maybe this is something that will work.
Yeah, I had that moment, but again, I think it wasn't just because of like ICT as ICT concepts. Like I didn't have like that key moment where I said, okay, that's going to work because yeah, ICT concepts works. It was more like what I was saying before that I actually had a dream and I actually had passion for it. And I really wanted it because of how my life was developing, basically.
Yeah.
So it was more like a way of I'm just gonna make it no matter what, even if
Yeah.
it's using like BWAP or if it's using ICT concepts or if it's using just moving averages. Like I would just do it anyway. But obviously, I would say when I started like seeing the first results doing ICT and actually just passing my first evaluations with pro firms, that's the moment when I said to myself, okay, that's going in the right direction. I'm just not gonna stop, no matter
Yeah.
what. Obviously, I had ups and downs, but I think since the moment I started with in 2022 with futures, I never had a single moment where I said to myself, I'm gonna give up.
Do you feel like to make it in trading, a person has to have sort of like that deeper passion or be obsessed with trading? Do you feel like that's a requirement?
I guess you could do it anyway. But if you do have that passion, because that's like you, and you can use that statement with anything in your life, when you are
Yeah.
actually passionate about something, you're going to get rid of that uh, thought of, I'm going to give up. Because there's no way you can give up on something that you're actually passionate about and you are actually
Yeah.
obsessed about. You can take a break for it, so about it. Like you can just drive off your mind away of that topic, but it will come back and you're gonna need to face it again and you're gonna like try it again, obviously. And if you don't
Awesome.
have that passion, obviously you're gonna be able to give up on it.
So I'm obviously curious. Obviously, you had this massive passion. What was it about like before? Did you do anything sort of similar? Did you have any sort of hobbies that were similar? Like, what is it that makes, obviously, apart from the freedom, what makes you like love looking at the charts, you know?
Yeah. I would say I've always been like an entrepreneur person. I did many things before and while I was doing trading. I would say it's something that goes already on me since I was a kid, like being an entrepreneur and just thinking about business. Like when I was young, I was playing a lot of video games, obviously. The way I approached video games was I need to make money. I need to be like the best when it comes to the economy around that game.
Yeah.
So actually, when you think about money, the first that comes to mind is like stocks, trading, basically investing. So since I was a kid, like I would say 12 or 13, I was actually thinking about ways to be able to invest my money and actually make money. And at first it was driven by actually just money. The passion was actually money driven, but now over time it changed. And as we were mentioning before, it's more like of freedom driven.
Now, obviously, that people have heard a bit about you, they'd be really keen to sort of hear about your trading process and like what your kind of day to day looks like. So, as someone who's obviously got to where you are, walk us through sort of like your trading day from start to finish. Like, what's your routine? How do you prep? Things like that.
Yeah, sure. I would say it's really basic and like completely not out of normal. I don't usually wake up early. I just wake up early if I need to trade a London session, as I'm based in Spain. So London session starts basically around 8:30 in the morning. That's when I would sit on my computer. But I don't usually trade London sessions. So my normal day to day is I wake up around, I would say 10 in the morning. I wake up, I take a shower, and basically I go out, get breakfast, get a coffee, and just clear up my mind. I would say around midday, around 12, I would come back home, do home things, clear the dishes, like normal stuff that everyone has to do. Uh, and also if I have some time, I would just like meet someone, go see my parents, and just spend time with someone. And then 1 hour before New Year Open, I would say, or 2 hours before New Year Open, that's usually 2 p.m., 1 p.m. here in Spain. I just come back home, make myself something to eat for lunch. I eat before New Year session because New Year session is just at 3:30 p.m. here in Spain. And then I basically just sit, start looking at the charts, analyzing. One of the things that I do is not open charts until right before the session I'm going to trade is going to happen. So that way I just approach the charts with a clear mindset and just calmly, like with not having an input of what market did between I first checked out the charts at the morning and when I actually need to open up positions. So that's what I do. I just trade from 3:30 p.m. That's basically New Year session to 5 p.m. That's pretty much when New Year session ends. When the session closes and everything, I just go out again because I want to leave the emotions and what trading back. So I just get rid of it and go out. I go to the gym some of the days, like 3 days a week, I go to the gym. And then I just try to meet with someone to just basically debate of and about trading. And then
Yeah.
I just come back, check something related to just let's say my social media and basically do like a normal life and a normal day the rest of the
Yeah.
day, basically just if I had something to work, emails, meetings or something like this.
Yeah, I really love that because it just shows that you are just like genuinely very normal and
Yeah,
like it's this big thing like wake up, take a cold plunge, like dip your face in whatever type stuff, and
basically.
then do all this, do all that. But it just shows that like you don't have to do that. You can just have a nice balance in your life. It seems like as well, like you put a lot of emphasis on sort of maintaining a healthy mindset, which is really interesting to see. Is
Yeah.
there a particular reason that you do that? Has trading influenced that?
Yeah. It is because when I started, I tried to obviously approach trading with like my whole energy. And as I said before, I would isolate myself at home, obviously, because that's when I was diagnosed with my health condition and I had to stay home. So I kind of turned that bad thing into something useful for me. So I
Yeah.
had to stay at home and I used that as a tool for me to just be focused on something for a long period of time. But that also at the same time led me to not be able to control my emotions the same way because I had no way to escape from what was going on around trading because my life at that moment for a few months was basically just trading and taking care of my health. basically. And there was no way to escape that because I couldn't just leave home. I couldn't meet with my friends. I couldn't basically do the life that I do now.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to do what I couldn't at that moment. And I was like just missing so much. And that's basically it.
Yeah, it's great to hear that obviously you turned kind of a negative into a positive for yourself, because I think the difference between someone like yourself and a lot of people would have obviously got your terrible news and they would have kind of just like let it consume them, whereas you
Yeah,
obviously managed to turn it into a positive and change your life, which is
correct.
absolutely amazing. So yeah,
Thank you.
it seems like you've kind of got like a refined process where you only trade this sort of time and you know that.
Mhm.
Like what led you to those conclusions? Was it just making a hell of a lot of mistakes to then you were able to refine, or?
It was basically because I met people in the trading scene that helped me a lot when it comes to my journey. So basically, my process is someone else's process, but with a few changes that suit my character as a trader.
Yeah.
So I would say I took like something that already worked and then worked my way to refining and just tweaking and adding the changes that as a trader I needed. So I would say the key was to just hang around the right people at the right moment.
Yeah. Awesome. In your trading now, obviously you've got to a point where you're obviously quite profitable. Do you still review your trades? Do you still journal your trades? Like what's that sort of process look like? Like, do you review on a week to week or?
Yeah, I don't review the trades the same way I did back then, like when I was starting, because when I was starting, I actually needed to pay attention to a ton of things at the same time. And obviously, I was making mistakes way often than I do now. Like my
Yeah.
process now is pretty much in me. So I don't need to go over each thing each time. So the amount of times I commit mistakes is less. So if I take a loss, obviously I'm gonna review that loss, and I do it like in a weekly basis. I would say every week I just review how the week went. If I had a loss that something is off, like with my normal mistake, or maybe just I took loss because it is what it is. I don't always win, and I
Yeah.
know that. But if a loss is just a bit off, I just review that in depth and see what I could have done better for that specific trade. When it comes to the wins, I don't review them as much as I would do back in time was when I was starting. So right now, I kind of review more my losses than my wins, and I do it in a weekly basis, basically.
People that are sort of newer and they're obviously trying to obviously review their losses, do you have any questions that potentially they could ask themselves when reviewing their losses to help them improve?
Yeah. So ask myself three key questions. The first one, the loss was taken because of a psychological like issue. And
Hmm.
if so, just trying to know or remember what happened with me at that time and writing it down. Because one of the things that I do is actually journal and review like an emotions journal. So that's why I'm saying just know that emotion that led you to taking that loss. Two, if it was something related to your process, like something that you didn't follow, and if it's something about it, like the answer is pretty straightforward. Like let's say you didn't place the stop loss at the right position based off of your framework. So that there you have the answer, basically. And then the other one would be like related to your bias or what you wanted to see from the market instead of just the exact trade. Like, did you have a read about the market that was wrong when you thought that it was that the asset was bullish, and actually it was completely the opposite and it was bearish, and you basically got a trade that was against like your whole idea of where price was going.
You know, obviously you spoke about obviously your routine. Do you feel like when you have sort of structure outside of trading, you have better structure inside trading?
Yeah, obviously, like I need to trading, like you first need to control yourself and balance yourself, like your life. You need to have a balanced life. Because I don't know with who I was talking this about with, and it's like when you're trading, trading doesn't come off your life completely. So everything that you do with trading is going to affect you in your life, and everything that you do on your daily life is going to affect directly to trading, because we live trading in a very passionate way. Any input that happens outside of trading unconsciously is going to reflect into trading. So I think that having like a balanced life is going to cause that you're unconsciously going to have a balanced trading life or a process. My trading model basically revolves around unicorns or breakers. That's an ICT concept. That's basically an order block that fails. So basically what I want to look for is liquidity sweep that happens around a key moment or a key time, and then price running back through what was an order block at that moment, and then turning into a breaker block for me to use and get into position, basically, right?
And you say a key time, just for obviously the viewers. What do you mean by that?
Exactly. When I refer to a key time, it's actually around the opens of trading sessions, basically. And when I refer to key moments or key levels, it's basically around high time frame point of interest that I want to see price react off of. So that sweep that happens here could be aligned with session. So the moment that we get that sweep, all of this movement has to happen around the open of a session. I want to make clear that I have two models that revolve around the same principle, the same concept. And the trade that I'm going to show you is one of them, is that I use one indicator that just plots the open, high, and close levels for the daily candle. So basically, what I'm saying is that that indicator is going to plot for me the statistical reversal points, like kind of frame the open, high, low, close candle. But the way I just trade that indicator is like kind of range trading, basically. So that orange line here is telling me that here is the open of the daily candle. So at this point, when we reach one of the manipulation levels, we are now on a zone where we could be finding ourselves, like price finding itself on the manipulation phase, or like the low phase, like the weak phase of the daily candle. So basically what I want to see from these levels is a reaction. And when I say I trade those as ranges, is because I use these levels as support or resistance, basically. And what I'm saying is that price starts trading on this main range. And what I want to see is deviations above or under these levels. And when I execute these trades, and when I have a confirmation, then that price is returning to that main range. So actually the low or the movement we are placing here could be the week of the daily candle, basically. So this day we traded, Asia just moved inside all of this is Asia. Then London opened and we got a sweep here. So as I was saying before, we had a sweep, but for me to just take that trade, I would need to get a market structure shift here, like a change in state above that breaker. And we actually didn't happen. So at this point, I was actually looking for a move higher from here, and then finding some sort of like support around that manipulation level that I was saying before, and then a move up. So all I did was wait for London to just develop and see what we were going to do. This deviation is quite big, so we traded below the level for a long period of time, I would say. But as soon as I get a confirmation of price trying to go higher and actually breaking up again, probably on the M15, it's going to be way clearer. Now at this point, I see that we closed again back into the range, this range that we were trading here. So I'm going to treat this as the manipulation for the daily candle. That's going to be like the sweep that happened. So all that movement happened inside London session, right? So as soon as I see the change in state here, I want to use this as my breaker. And at this point here, probably at the 7 o'clock, I would have taken a long. I usually trade a fixed position size, like a fixed, risk reward trade. That's basically 2R for most of my trades.
Yeah.
And when I take a trade based off of that stat map, I want to see that the 2R trade fits inside the range that I'm trading. And basically, we ended up going even higher to the distribution level on that day. So that would be one of the trades around the model of the stat map unicorn, basically model.
Why is it that you only trade the 2R there instead of, say, taking partials there and letting a bit run to that top sort of level?
Yeah, I would say it's because of statistics, mainly because I know for a fact that my sweet spot with this strategy works way better over time, just focusing on getting 2R. I'm not a fan of just partials because even though you can get obviously more profit and just hope for a run from price even higher or lower, depending, I think that just sticking to 2R, obviously I trade a lot with prop firms, so I want to keep my risk to reward ratio and the amount of profits that I do super under control. So I think 2R is like one based off of statistics. I know for a fact that this model on my framework, it's more likely to run to 2R most of the times. So I stick to this, and then to control obviously my losses and my wins, like in a very detailed way.
Do you have any filters when it comes to obviously the trading time frame you're using? So on this example, obviously there's a 15-minute breaker. Is like a 1-minute breaker, a 5-minute breaker, are they acceptable as well? Or does it have to be a certain time frame?
I usually focus more on the 1 minute and the 5 minutes. I prefer to be in trades the less time possible, just because of how I am as a trader. That's what I was saying before, that I took something that worked for someone and then changed it and adapted it a bit to how I am as a trader. So I want to be quick in and quick out most of the trades. But I would say that the way I choose my breakers is where they form, basically. So that formed basically because of how London session did. So that's the breaker that was formed on the movement down that London left behind, basically. And also because this breaker is actually the change in state aligned with the plus manipulation. So this whole zone is where, for me, makes the most sense for me to get into a long.
You say that obviously you kind of took this from someone else and sort of adapted it. How does that sort of refining and optimizing process look like?
So basically, what I took from someone was the whole unicorn thing, and knowing like the unicorns and high quality breakers and higher probability breakers form at a certain times with certain high time frame point of interest. That's the basics. Then what I did was to adapt it with the indicator thing that I'm using, the stat map. So it's basically a combination of these two things that just led me to create like a completely different model with different variables, but that goes around the same topic as is the breakers and the unicorn.
Do you think it's important for people to obviously take it, not necessarily copy people directly, but take stuff from different places and then adapt it to their own?
I think it is, because it's like a way of bootstrapping your journey or your way to like achieving success, because you're taking something. Obviously, you're just believing that person. So you don't have to just believe everything that you see. So you have to prove it by yourself. And I think that's what I did. I just took someone, but not blindly. I just took it with a fact and proven that it worked for me, and actually take it into action. And I think it's just a way of just skipping those steps of realizing and finding yourself something that works initially and then changing it. So I think it basically gives you the ability to go a little bit faster, knowing that it is something that is working for someone already.
What extent do you believe that psychology matters in trading versus strategy?
Yeah. So obviously, most of the people is going to tell you that psychology is like probably a high percentage of what trading looks like. And I would agree. But the thing is that most people don't know why and how to start changing psychology as a trader to improve. And the difference between like psychology and what a model is and how a framework looks like is like with a framework, you're taking something that it's gonna work for everyone. It's like a set of rules that you have to follow. And if you actually follow them the right way, you're gonna succeed with it. When it comes to psychology, what works for you or for someone might not work for you, because every person obviously is different and every trader goes through different things. So I cannot take checklists from someone facing, I would say, X amount of things related to psychology and apply that checklist to my own character, because probably that's not going to work. So I think one of the main things about like the difference of the model and the psychology thing is that when it comes to psychology, you actually need to know yourself. And the process of knowing yourself is actually harder than learning something that actually works
Yeah.
for someone else, right? That's actually a rule set of things that you need to follow. Because when with psychology, we don't have that rule set of things that we need to follow.
What's one of the sort of biggest psychological breakthroughs you made in your trading?
I didn't know actually for a fact what was the exact moment that led to a psychological breakdown that led to not taking trades or over trading or just cutting a trade that is working. So what I actually had to do was to go through a process of knowing myself as a trader. And the way to achieve it was journaling the way I thought, journaling the way I was behaving, and then reviewing it after to actually try to get rid of those behaviors. Because one of the misconceptions of our psychology is that you're gonna get rid of your emotions. And I don't think that's the way we should approach psychology with trading. The way I approach it is, okay, I'm a person, I'm a human being. Obviously, I have emotions. And what I need to do is make sure I'm able to live with those emotions and reduce the impact that those emotions are having, like going in a bad way. So
Yeah.
I would say journaling my emotions and knowing that nothing's going to change from one day to another. And it's going to be a process of reducing the impact and reducing the amount of times I was facing those emotions and that those emotions were affecting my trading. And that's the whole journey, and the whole process was by journaling the emotions, basically. And just
Yeah.
seeing that over time, I was committing less mistakes because of those emotions.
So would you say that even as you get on in your journey, the emotions never go away, you just kind of get better at dealing with them?
Yeah, that's I think that's completely true. Like all I've seen so far is that I face these breakdowns because of the emotions less times, but I do have moments where I have the urge of getting into a trade. I also had days where I overtraded. I also have days where I'm angry or like I'm fearful or I'm not that confident in my process, because like trading is not a single like a completely linear line. It's
That's
gonna
for sure.
we are gonna have ups and downs constantly, and you have to bear with the emotions constantly because they are gonna change over time a lot. So I would say it's just a matter of knowing that this happens and trying to reduce the impact and the amount of times that you basically mess it up because of the emotions.
And is that why you have sort of your regimented sort of trading times now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally true.
I think for traders, some of the biggest sort of things psychology wise that they face are obviously tilt, um, like when they overtrade, right? Drawdown, like when they're in drawdown, they try to revenge trade, make it back. And then the other one is sort of ego on sort of a win streak, right?
Yeah.
So they get overconfident. Do you ever feel those sort of situations? And if so, like for example, when you're in drawdown, how do you sort of maintain yourself and keep yourself in check versus when obviously you're on a win streak? How do you then
Mhm.
also step it back and be like, okay, let's
Yeah.
not, yeah,
Yeah. So basically, one of the things I do the most is just reflect about the process of or what I'm doing or what is happening through my journal, basically.
mm-hmm.
Is knowing that, because usually, for example, when we are in drawdown, we might be thinking that our process is not working, and we might face a period of time where it might not work. But once you have your journal and your data and you have like statistics around what you are actually doing, into that, like going through my journal, seeing my statistics, seeing that obviously my framework is it's a proven process that works over time. That's what leads me to just reflect and calmly reduce that probably that thinking of fearness or not being that confident anymore. And the opposite way around, when I'm on a winning streak and I might be like a little bit too overconfident. My ego could be like a little bit fed up. Again, I go back to my journal and I look at it the same way, but the way around, like thinking, okay, now I'm on a good like winning streak. At any time, it could start the way around. I could be facing like the down again and just cooling off things where I could be losing 5, 4, or 6 trades in a row. So that also gives me like the ability to just try to not be that focused on, okay, I'm on a winning streak. I need to size up. I need to keep winning. So that way, I think the journal is my best tool for me to reflect and realize that what I'm going on is just a phase, basically.
When it comes to, obviously, you're saying obviously about this, it sounds like kind of you've got sort of necessarily not completely a mechanical approach to trading, but to some point where you can kind of know the data for your system. Now, do you think that it's inevitable and you'll have sort of these losses in a row and a row and a row at certain points based on your system? Or do you think it's kind of trading can be more of a skill thing rather than a mechanical thing? And you can,
Yeah, I think it's a combination. Obviously, like we are not robots, we are not machines. Like it's obviously that there's like not everything is mechanical. So it's going to be some sort of margin between the mechanical part and you being as a human. So I don't believe trading is 100% mechanical at the point where if someone has their hands on the mouse and the keyboard, it's not going to be 100% mechanical. And I can 100% guarantee that when you have a journal and you have the statistics, you already contemplate the things that could lead you to do something wrong that goes out of your mechanical approach, right?
yeah.
So you already have that contemplated on your statistics. So that's why I also rely on this.
If you could go back to day one and tell Juno, obviously on his day one when he was first getting back into trading, what would one piece of advice you would give him be?
I would say don't worry that much because when I was starting, obviously I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't make it. But obviously now that I see it from another perspective, I could think of like I was gonna make it anyway because I was so upset and I was so passionate about that I was gonna make it. And now saying it seems easy, but at that moment you keep worrying about, okay, I'm investing so much time into this. I'm investing so much money into this, and you are actually constantly in fear and worried about if you don't make it. So if I could have like the ability to go back and tell myself, don't worry, just enjoy it and go through it in the most calmly way that you can, that's what I would tell to myself.
Yeah, appreciate the journey, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Juno, I really appreciate you being here and breaking down everything for us. It was absolutely amazing to see your structure, your process, and especially all your perspectives. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For everyone listening, obviously be sure to go follow Juno on X and all of his other socials. Just want to shout yourself out.
Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube and X page by looking for me with Juno Trading. And yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. That's it for this episode of Process Over Profits, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.